What's poppin', y'all? ComplexCon has been going on, and one of the people that was speaking, being interviewed by, I think it was Idea Generation, the guy that does interviews on ComplexCon, or one of Complex Network's shows, Cole Bennett was on there, and he revealed something new, or something that I wasn't familiar with, was that he was offered a buyout, and the age that he was offered a buyout for Lyrical Lemonade that he ended up turning down. So I'm going to play you guys the clip, which he explains the amount and why he turned it down, and we're going to talk about it for a little bit, because I think this is such a great learning lesson.
A few years ago, you revealed that you walked away from a $30 million offer for Lyrical Lemonade. Do you still feel as resolute about that decision? And have you been offered other opportunities to sell the business?
Oh, I feel better about passing on that money more than ever. I think if I would have taken $30 million at age 20, couldn't even legally drink. I think it would have been ugly. I think I wouldn't have known what to do. I don't think I was mature enough to handle that. And thank God I was so rooted in like my values and what I stood for at the time, because I did saying no. I kind of puffed my chest when I did it, actually. But you know, there's been times as I've gotten older where I'm like, damn, that 30 mil would have looked nice, you know? But I believe in the fact that you know, if we're talking money here, I believe that comes when it's supposed to come, at the amount it's supposed to come, when it's supposed to come. And you just got to believe in that. So, yeah, there's been different, companies and people that have come and wanted to buy the company, or, you know, build out whatever they envisioned, and it's very flattering, you know, and at some point there might be a fit, right? But it's about finding.
So here, we have to keep in mind, Cole Bennett right now, he's 29, 30, around there. I think he's 96, so he's 29. And 9 years ago, that's 2016. So he said it was before he turned 21. So that means it was 2016, before May of 2016. And he was on a run at this point in time. But it wasn't like 2018, which was post Lil Skies and all that. It was still on the uptick. So the fact that he was offered $30 million is mind-blowing. They really saw the vision, and they saw where Lyrical Lemonade could go. And Lyrical Lemonade as a brand right now is worth far more than that. Just because, like, some people will say, like, yo, Lyrical Lemonade doesn't really have, like, the pull it once had. No, actually, you're just remembering nostalgia. Lyrical Lemonade as a brand right now is bigger than it was, and that's a topic for the main channel, actually, that I still have to write up. That will get written. It's not one of those things where I say, oh, that's a topic for another day, and that day never comes. But at that time, he had the blog, it was lyricallemonade.com, and he also had the music videos, and he had just gotten on about a year ago, 2015, a year prior. 2015 was when I first found out about Lyrical Lemonade, and it was via Soulja Boy. It was Soulja Boy and Famous Dex. Famous Dex was on a crazy run with Laka Films, and then he linked up with Famous Dex, and then I believe Famous Dex linked him up with Soulja Boy in LA, because he recorded a music video for both of them, and they dropped within like the next 2 weeks. And then from there, he was knocking it out of the park. Then, you know, there was like the little pumps and all that stuff that started happening afterwards. So to be 20 years old and to get offered, and keep in mind, he probably just started making hella bread, and to get offered that much money at 20 years old, it's like, yo, you're on top of the world. You made it. It's like, yo, startup founders don't be getting offered this much at 20 years old. Maybe like when they're 22. Probably Facebook. He probably got offered that much when he was 20, or no, maybe even younger, or maybe he was offered more. But regardless, and this is 2016 30 M's, not 2025 30 M's. 2025 30 M's feels like 2016 8 to 10 M's. If we're just being real, like, how many times do you hear 100 million? Like, you hear Kai Cenat is up 100 million plus, and you think to yourself, Kai Cenat's up 100 million. You used to hear 100 million, and it was only associated with people like Lil Wayne and Birdman and Kanye West and Jay-Z and the top of the top of the top of echelon. Now it's like 100 million. I would say 350 million back then is the new new billion, because you just hear everybody's a billionaire now. But we're not going to talk about this, how inflation feels based off of vibes. But I think we saw a lot of foresight in Cole Bennett with that type of answer, because a lot of people will be like, yo, just take the money. And also keep in mind, this is before Summer Smash, because some people will probably be like, well, if they're getting Lyrical Lemonade, they're also going to get the licensing or whatever to Summer Smash, which is the annual festival that Lyrical Lemonade has every year. And that's a huge festival that obviously brings in a lot of income. It's not like Rolling Loud, in that Rolling Loud was in multiple cities throughout the year, and since they sold, they've expanded globally damn near. With, I think they got the Asia Festival. I'm saying I think they got, like, I haven't been to one of them. They've got one in Europe, and I think they've had the Canada one, and I don't know if they've got one in, did they have one in Brazil? I'm not sure. I haven't checked out on that yet. I know they had one in Portugal, but that was 2018 that Summer Smash started. So when he got this offer, and that was with Speaker Box, I think it's in partnership, so they do all the event production. I'm guessing Lyrical Lemonade does like the licensing, of course, and 2018 was the right time to start it. But now it's a staple. Every single year it happens. So this was pre-2018, pre-Lyrical Lemonade Summer Smash, and they offered him that much, and he still turned it down. And he probably didn't touch 30M. Well, we don't know. We don't know what's in his pockets. But if that, it probably didn't happen for a long time. And and I think part of that deal would have to be that he would be involved for an extended period of time. Because, for instance, Dana White and the UFC. Dana White sold the UFC, but part of him selling it is that he has to remain as like president or the face of the brand for a certain amount of years. Because when you really think about it, you think UFC, it's tied to Dana White. That UFC is Dana White. And if somebody else came in, you would be like, who would even replace Dana White? It'd probably have to be like, if I think, it would have to be like, what, Joe Rogan, DC? Like those are the only other big names where you're like, these guys are such huge draws. Who are they going to throw in there? Like the NBA, I think the NBA stood alone as a brand for a while, although David Stern, like when David Stern got replaced with Adam Silver, it did become a little bit like, like I still don't see Adam Silver as like the commissioner of the NBA, but probably just because like a year or two after he came in is when I started to pay a lot less attention to it. So with that deal, he probably would have had to operate it for longer. And then I think that's what makes some people fall out of love with it potentially. We don't know the details of the deal, but I think he would have had to be a part of it because Mr. Beast, who got offered, I think he said a couple $100 million or $1 billion years ago for, I don't know who was going to buy it, but he said that, he would have to be operating the brand or the face of the brand for X amount of years while they figured out, okay, how do we transition this asset so it doesn't tank, or slowly transition him out, because if they just remove him, it's going to tank because so much of it relies on the front-facing individual. But what Cole Bennett said was he was excited that he didn't take that deal, and he showed a lot of restraint. And also, like, when somebody's 20, he said, 20, if I had that amount of money, I don't even know if I'd be here right now. Or like, that's the vibe that I got from it. You're 20, you're popping. You're kicking it with all the rappers. What was going on at 2016, 17, 18? Now, we don't know Cole Bennett to be doing, indulging in certain activities, certain recreational drugs. We don't know that. But there's a lot of temptation when you're up 30 M's, richer than every rapper that you worked with, and you're hanging out with all the rappers. What do you do with your time? You're not as motivated to build this thing because you just got cashed out a big bag for it. So that motivation isn't there. And there's this sweet spot on the seesaw of amount of money. Like, for example, people that are struggling, like if someone is under financial stress and they don't have a high income or even a moderate income, that is a very, very bad place to be. And a lot of people will be like, like if I was in a better financial position, it would be great. Sure. But there's also the end of having too much money that there isn't that much of a motivation to work for the purpose of money. Because you're like, nothing I do is going to get me a bag like this. So there's a sweet spot of kind of being drip fed. So at this point in 2017, 16, Cole Bennett probably didn't have any financial stress. I don't think he had a huge team yet. So everything was covered. He probably had more money than he even knew what to spend with. So more money wasn't going to save him. It could only really hurt him. And 30 M's is such a big number that you're better off at that age, slowly, incrementally gaining like happiness gains from your work and getting paid more and more, a little bit, than just getting hit with this gigantic injection of cash. Because you're feeling like you're getting rewarded in proportion to how hard you're working versus what else was he going to do? And I think he hit the end game where it was like, I love creating these videos. I love working with the artists that I want to work with. I love doing everything about this. Why would I sell it and then have to stop doing that? Or if I sell it, then I don't even feel like there's any room for growth from here because I sold it and I'm just working as like an employee when I built this thing by my own hands. And I think it would be really painful if you sell something like this and it gets turned into something else that you never wanted it to be. And then it's just like, wow. Because, 20 years old is really, really young. And Cole Bennett is still really, really young. He's not even 30 years old yet. And to kind of have that mindset at 20 years old, I think is what allowed him to survive in comparison to every other videographer. Think about every videographer that came out before Cole Bennett that they had more subscribers than Cole Bennett at a certain time, and some that even came out after Cole Bennett that were pretty talented as well. Yet they're not here anymore. They haven't built a brand nearly as big. They haven't even built a sustaining brand, I should say, because like big is relative. There's a reason why he's still here. And it's because of foresight like this and being able to adapt whilst not selling out. I think like a lot of people just get trapped in being a videographer versus he was kind of all encompassing. And even when like the past couple of years, like I think the first time I noticed it was with the Lil Yachty shot on iPhone video. Like he would push himself creatively, and some people would be like, yo, how is shooting an iPhone pushing yourself creatively? Well, like when you limit your resources, it pushes you to be a little bit more creative. It's kind of like when you have so many tools, you're a little bit overwhelmed versus when you like restrain yourself and you're only allowed to use, I don't know, like X amount of things, because this could apply to a bunch of different fields. Then you get more creative with how you can use your limited resources and get the best out of them. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. If you were 20 years old, if you were Cole Bennett in 2016, are you taking that 30 M's? And if you take that 30 M's, what are you doing next? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one. Oh, yeah, I didn't even answer the question myself. I think it would be very, very... If I put myself in the mindset of, hey, I love creating video, I love working with artists, I love this company, then I would not take the 30 M's. But if I had, like, another dream, like, let's say, I don't know, I wanted to be a photographer or something like that, or, like, something else that I just chose to do this for monetary reasons, then I might sell it and just go pursue that. So it really depends on the mindset that I'm in. But yeah, I would say the former. If it was something that I was getting paid 30 M's for and I loved it and I was only 20, I don't know if, that was, it's like, what, we circle back like 3-4 years, 5 years? Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard. I think I would have been able to say no. It would have probably been the hardest no of my life, though. Yeah, it would have. I would probably say no. But yeah, that's my answer for those of you that care.